Hey, so about a year ago, I think it was, I posted some stuff about using Google Home, Amazon Alexa, and smart plugs, Wemo, iHome, to try to get some arcade game room automation. So play music, turn games on and off. Specifically today, I wanted to revisit the turning games on and off. After living with those two plug brands for about a year, I've had some observations I wanted to share with you, and also I've got games kind of pulled out in a way right now where I can get behind them and show you the different plugs and why I picked what I picked and which ones I'm happy with and not happy with, and also to talk about some longer impressions about where does this go long run, and what are some concerns that you might have before you jump into it. I had some folks in the last video post and comment, and they were kind of going down the same path. And revisit just a little, the idea here is many arcade games and pinball machines have power switches in weird places, right? So the Stern games, the new Stern Spike games have the power in the head. The Pin 2K has them middle of the cabinet. The Bally Williams games traditionally had them in the lower right hand corner of the cabinet. Arcade games, they could have been in the top, they could have been in the back and the bottom, in the middle. And if you have a lineup of games, that probably can be a challenge to turn them on and off using the power switch. So people will typically put them on a big power strip. They might overload their power strip, or maybe the power strip's not convenient because you want to be more surgical, turn one game on and off versus another. And then the challenge of not turning on everything on at once and potentially overloading a breaker, causing a fire. So these are a pretty good solution for that, and it's really nice to be able to just kind of walk in and yell at the robot in the sky and tell it what you want to turn on. But living with it for a little while, as I said, there's some stuff that's come up that I've noticed and wanted to share it with you now in case you're starting down this path. So let's have a look. All right, to provide a little context and show what I'm working with, this is the first floor walkout basement. It's unfinished. As you can see, the ceilings are very, very, very short. So the studs from this floor brace come down almost to where the head is on a traditional like Bally Williams size game, which limits my options for finishing the room. So kind of put that in the bad column. On the good column, though, it apparently was a workshop for the previous owners, and there's a 100 amp sub panel that wasn't used. So open studs plus 100 amp sub panel equals pretty convenient opportunity for me to wire it however I would like. So this particular wall has a pin, 3 arcades, and another pin, and then a mini split AC. The mini split AC is on 7220. There are 2 20 amp breakers or circuits rather on this wall. One is on a GFI and it powers some auxiliary kind of shop work lights that are often off but handy when we're working on things, and then run out to some bistro lights, and that's why they're on a GFI. The other is the wall outlets on this wall, so that provides the power for all of these games, and they seem to be okay on that 20 amp circuit based on all of the measurements I've had. And I think because these 2 Mario Karts, instead of having their original gigantic monitors, they have LCD Macvisions in them for, let's just say, reasons. So that's this wall. The center beam in support of the room has another 20 amp circuit, and on that circuit, Q*bert, Donkey Kong, and Tapper, and then some like little lights and stuff. And then finally on the back wall, well, there's more, but on the back wall, another 20 amp circuit, and it has 2 pins and 2 arcades, so, and probably 3 arcades soon. So Tales of the Arabian Nights, Mortal Kombat, this Nintendo Multicade, and Indiana Jones running on that 20 amp circuit. So let me show you these wall outlet types, or these smart plug types rather. So this is the original Belkin Wemo was this gigantic thing here. It's about the size of a wall wart, and so it takes up all of the room that a wall wart would take. So when I was doing my original acquisition of smart plugs, I tended to instead go for these iHome mini plugs. So they are so small that you could almost put 2 side by side. You just can't, but they take up considerably less room than the gigantic Belkin Wemos. But spoiler alert, they don't work as well, and we'll get into that in a sec. So in this case, I blended environment. I have like Belkin's running the Tron, so the Wemo's running Tron. This guy's for Star Trek. the Mario Karts are running off of this one, and then there's another one down the wall for the other pin down there. So that's kind of what's going on in this. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, one of the things that Google Home and Alexa are doing for you is that they're providing a blended capability where you can group, you know, non-ubiquitous devices together and say, okay, turn off these by name, and it doesn't really matter what their underlying service is, it just turns them off by name. So I could say turn on the pinball machines, and it really doesn't matter which brand they're plugged into, it'll just turn off the pinball machines by grouping. And what I'll do is, well, in this video there'll be a blog post, I'll post some of the setup screens in both the Wemo and the iHome apps, as well as the Amazon Alexa apps, so you can see how the grouping and setup looks. Now, here's another set of plugs that I've pulled out for a second just to look at, so you can see the iHome Mini, and then this is the new Belkin Wemo. So they have a new mini based that's a kind of a, you know, rectangular brick instead of the gigantic wall wart, which is nice. So now with those, you get the benefit of the iHome size, more or less, even though it is bigger. But on a power strip, if you have good spacing, you can get a couple of them on there, which is pretty cool. Then behind these pins, I'll show you another, or these other games rather, I'll show you another setup. So again, I've got a blended, so iHome Mini, and then the Wemo, and then another iHome Mini. So again, you know, different manufacturers controlling different games, doesn't really matter, because we're going to group them in Alexa, so, or Google Home if you're using that. Now, it's not ideal, right? So you prefer, looking back, if I could start over, I would have only bought Wemo, and I will talk a little bit about that. So the iHome setup is pretty darn convenient. Like you basically go into their app, and it joins it creates like a false Wi-Fi you know, router basically that you join in your phone. They have an app and it works, and it's pretty good. And then, you know, they have this like little code thing, and they've got like a camera, you know, plug-in that will OCR that, and then use that to identify the device and join it to your Wi-Fi, and then now your plug's on Wi-Fi. Yeah, the Wemo's the same, pretty much. You know, there isn't a physical barcode necessarily that you have to hit to use those. You just kind of join them. You know, open the app detects them, and then it kind of goes through setup process. So that's more or less how this is set up. I've got another breaker back here for these games, and then there's another breaker, you know, servicing like the TV entertainment area. These are also blended iHome and Wemo, only because, you know, I have them, and, you know, they're expensive and whatever. So, but that's how it's set up. So with it set up in this way, I can say, Alexa, turn on Star Wars Arcade. And it turns on. And in 30 minutes, the monitor will warm up and you'll be able to see it. Alexa, turn on Star Wars Pinball. So it doesn't matter which remote it's on, or which remote brand it's on, or which smart plug. So the biggest functional benefit that I'm getting out of using, you know, the Amazon Alexa or the Echo or you know, Google Home, is that it's providing us a, you know, single interface into multiple, what would otherwise be multiple services. So without those, if I needed to turn Attack from Mars on, I would need to know that Attack from Mars was on an iHome plug. I would need to go to the iHome app and click on that plug, and it would turn on. If I wanted to turn Tron on, I would need to know that Tron is on a Wemo, and I would need to go into the Wemo app and turn it on. Well, because Google Home and because Amazon Echo Alexa services can discover those devices, then they've discovered that there's a device called Tron, and then it knows that it's a smart plug, and then it knows that it has two states, on and off. Same for Attack from Mars. It's, you know, discovered that there's a device in the network called Attack from Mars, and then it's a smart plug, and then it has a device, you know, states on and off. So I can individually address Tron by saying, Alexa, turn on Tron. But likewise, I could say, you know, let's say if I wanted to, you know, group them and, you know, play all of the classic arcades, not just Tron. Alexa, turn on the classic arcades. So even though they're on different physical circuits, and they're on even different manufacturers of smart plugs, you know, Alexa's doing the work. The Alexa APIs are communicating with the Belkin and iHome APIs and telling those online cloud services to, you know, notify these guys that they're supposed to be turning on, and they are. Same for the pinball machines, right? So right now, Star Wars is already on, but if I wanted to turn the rest of the pinball machines on, I could say, Alexa, turn on the pinball machines. And so now, every game, regardless of its location, that's in that, you know, logical group called pinball machines gets enabled. And those group names are arbitrary. You know, I could just say, you know, turn on the money pits, and then that's what it would do. Or, you know, group modern arcades versus classics. You could alias games. You know, Donkey Kong has an interesting alias on my network because it has been a painful ownership route. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what the, you know, kind of the rubber meets the road of where those online cloud services are helping, you know, tie these two ecosystems together. Now, if I were to do it over, I would probably have only bought the Belkin Wemos, because now they have this convenient size versus these gigantic power bricks that they used to have. And I've found the Wemo services to be significantly more reliable. Every one of these smart plugs has an IP address on my local network. They are on the internet. They are pinging some central cloud service to let those services know what their statuses are. And what I've noticed will happen is occasionally the iHome plugs become what iHome support calls out of sync. And I'm doing gigantic air quotes there that you can't see, because I don't know what out of sync means, because they don't either. All they know is that they all show as red, they're not available through either Alexa or in their app, and their solution to that is for me to come and unplug them, plug them back in, and they resync. However, they report physically green light, white status light showing they're connected, and I can see them passing traffic on the network. So that sync does not appear to be have a local aspect, and the Wemos just kind of work. Doesn't matter. Even if we do have a power outage or internet outage, they just come back up on their own and they work. Where the iHomes, we get to climb behind our big 300-pound machines and find wherever they're plugged in, and then unplug them and plug them back in, and that's what brings them back on. So that alone, minus just sort of dismal support, leads me to say, don't buy an iHome if you can avoid it. I don't believe I will. I will buy more Wemos. And on that, just one more topic, because these are internet connected, they rely on the presence of an online service. So these are connecting to those cloud services, and there are no subscriptions today associated with my iHome, you know, network traffic to iHome Central, nor is there any subscription with my Wemos. So, you know, I wonder what the long-term viability of some of these products are, because my $25 retail, you know, usage at some point, you know, is exceeded by network traffic and API consumption costs. You know, there is a scale where they're no longer making anything on me by using their plug. And this goes for the same for both brands. It just seems as if the iHome brand hasn't put the same amount of, you know, sort of detail and service on their service side and then their support side, whereas Wemo, the integrations with their services seem to always work. They auto recover, and then there's the added benefit, which I had forgot to mention, that Wemo has offered wall plugs as well. So IP capable wall plugs that seem to work at great distances of Wi-Fi even when they shouldn't, and just, I don't know, they're good. So, you know, that's kind of a redux on my smartphone control and voice automation control with smart plugs. There are other ways to do this, you know, iHome and Wemo, you know, like Z-Wave and other kind of local ways, but these are the ways that I engaged in, and these are my thoughts. So I hope this helps you, and if I can help at all, I will be happy to. Just comment on wherever you see this. I'll also put a blog post with some of the setup screens and other information, and yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully this will save you some headache.